Most of you know the climate crisis is heating up, both literally, but also in terms of the number of climate events that we're seeing. And many of these are not something you can get over easily. They're not a little flood, they're not a few days of drought. This is video from just the other day in Greece, where it's just such devastation. I mean, whole areas of farmland are just underwater. Many believe these may become, as rainfall continues, these may become somewhat permanent lakes, which of course takes away farmland. The entire ecosystem is changing, and it's changing in the span of a few years. Um, and Greece is just one example of what's going on. And don't worry, I'm getting to the part where this is class war. Uh, but Greece is just one example. I know this is also going on. Huge flooding in Hong Kong, Libya. I believe they've already said that maybe thousands are dead from the flooding in Libya. Just huge events. Hurricane Lee, which thank you. I worked hard on that. Hurricane Lee is still massive and in the Atlantic Ocean. And it has been last I checked. I mean, I haven't checked it in a day, so I don't know if something's changed. But last I checked, it was going back and forth between category 5 and category 2. 5 being the highest, and there's only been 40 category 5 storms in the Atlantic since 1924, and one of them is this Hurricane Lee. Now it might be down to category 2 now. Again, I haven't checked that one recently, but so, okay, you're seeing all these, and of course, fire events and drought events and everything. Just to remind everyone, we're going to see millions, and we already are seeing millions of climate refugees. This is World Refugee Day. This is just a couple months ago. They said that climate crisis is forcing people to abandon their homes. According to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, around 21.5 million people have been forcibly displaced by weather-related events since 2008. All right, so we already, since 2008, have 21 million people, and that will go into the billions in coming years. Not only will we see a billion or more refugees, but as I covered the other day, we're also likely going to see a billion people are on track to die from climate crisis. That's coming from a new scientific review of 180 articles. So these are generally, if those of you are wondering, where these numbers come from and how reliable they are, generally the most reliable numbers are ones that are taking other studies, a large number of other studies, and putting them together into a single analysis, because then you're evening out. You're kicking out the study that was, too much, that said, 2 billion are going to die. And you're kicking out the studies that said, hey, no one are going to die. And you take what is the kind of consensus of a large number of scientific articles, and they took 180 different articles on the human death rate of climate change, and they found that we are on path for 1 billion people to die in the coming years from climate crisis, which of course is unprecedented in terms of global death. Okay, so all of that is going on, and you might think to yourself, that sounds very different from class war. That sounds like environmental difficulties, those kind of things. But not only are the richest of the rich far more responsible for global emissions to begin with, so they're the ones largely causing this, but obviously it's not just them, but proportionally it is the top 1% that are causing a huge percentage of global warming emissions. But they are also, they know what's going on, and they are prepping for it. And here is the billionaire bunkers, how the world's wealthiest are preparing to escape reality. They see the writing on the wall that climate change, among other issues. And I always like to make the point that capitalism is destroying everything. It's destroying our environment in ways other than just climate crisis. it's destroying, we're chopping up all the trees because that makes money for a tiny number of people that run the fucking lumber yards. We're chopping up, I mean, we're polluting all the oceans because it's easier to externalize all those costs and not deal with that stuff and just dump it into the ocean. So again and again, we see this, that profit over all else, market economics is destroying the earth. But the rich are preparing for this. They see the writing on the wall, and they're doing things like building bunkers. They're starting, they're hiring people, like insurance programs, where the insurance is that those people will rescue you and take you to a fucking resort. If your area catches on fire, they'll have helicopters landing on their lawn to fly them away. This article talks about, from the New York Post, but it's based on a book by Douglas Rushkoff. Sorry. J.C. Cole has founded Safe Haven Farms, a maximum security compound to ride out the next pandemic or climate change disaster. And those who can afford to join him will also have a shot of survival. But the price tag isn't cheap. A $3 million investment in his startup isn't about getting admission. Members also isn't just about getting admission. Members also get a stake in a potentially profitable network. But that's just one example of these escape systems that the billionaires are setting up. Here is another one that is not framed as an escape system, but is clearly somewhat connected to that. This is billionaires in California are envisioning a new utopian city to replace what they've ruined. The New York Times, in a series of reports in late August 2023, revealed that a small group of white male billionaires, a who's who of Silicon Valley, has been secretly buying up thousands of acres of rural land in Northern California's Solano County since 2017 to build a city from the ground up. Now, of course, some of the aspects of that city will be that it's defensible in case they need to defend their utopia that they've escaped to. It has water supplies in case you end up in a drought, which California's seen a lot of drought in certain areas. But they'll have their own water supplies, I'm sure, ready to go to keep them going for months, if not years. Their own food supplies, their own probably their own firefighting department to deal with fires. All of those things to basically protect them from the reality that they're creating and leading us into. And this is like the fucking definition of class war. This is billionaires protecting themselves from the world they're creating for all of us. So I don't care if you claim to be a Republican, if you claim to be a Democrat, if you claim to be a socialist, a Marxist, if you claim to be a libertarian, if you claim to be any of these things, it doesn't fucking matter. You ain't on their team unless you got $1 billion. If you got $1 billion and you're watching this, then thank you for watching, but you've shut up to the wrong place. So we can sit here and bicker about Trump's better, Biden's better, this fucking reality show that they've given us of we're literally debating over which oligarch you like better, which racist, corporatist, war criminal, sexual assaulter, fucking mentally declined oligarch you like better. Let's sit here and have that debate. That sounds like a real important thing for you and me to do right now, to fight over that. It really does. Or does that sound like you're fighting over which one of the real housewives of gobbledygook that is the best, and you think that's going to change things? You know, which one's the worst? You think that's going to change things? What's one of the real housewives? We're watching a reality show that you have no impact over it. And which one of those housewives you pick as being the worst, you're not going to have an impact over it. So not only is it a fucking theater, it's theatrical bullshit designed to distract you from the reality that our environment is collapsing around us and that we're in a class war. And it's doing a great job. I mean, most of America is caught up in that reality show. But not only is it a reality show, but on top of that, you don't impact it. They don't give a shit about you. They don't, your vote doesn't matter. And if it did, it's a rigged voting system anyway. And of course, the 2014 Princeton study that really tells you everything you need to know. It's at the heart of all of this bickering about electoral politics. 2014 Princeton study found that the U.S., the average American, meaning the non-rich, have 0% impact on political issues. The only things that ever get done is what corporate America wants. 0%. Like, doesn't even register on the scale. So fucking stop wasting your time and debating over that shit. And the reason if we really, I'm trying to get us to discuss things beyond just electoral politics, but just one final comment on it. The reason I do support people like Cornel West or the PSL candidates that have just announced that I'm going to be interviewing next week. The reason I do support them or have them on to talk about their issues is because of the issues, because that's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about that stuff. So even if they lose, which, I feel like this system might be rigged against third parties. Even if they lose, I feel like they have a platform that is important and they can say important things. And that's why I endorse all of I endorse PSL candidates. I Claudia de la Cruz. I endorse Cornel West, and I endorse the rock I found in my yard, the grayish brown rock I found in my yard that's also running for president 2024. And he would do no harm. He would do no harm at all. He would just sit there, not pushing any buttons. He'd be like Mitch McConnell when he's frozen. And you'll notice Mitch McConnell did zero harm while he was frozen. Like, that is the best case scenario for Mitch McConnell. So, yeah, yardrock2024.com if you want to learn more about the issues on Yardrock. But back to this. They're building their own city here, which was also covered in the New York Times. So don't think this is some loopy conspiracy idea. The idea originated with a young Czech-born billionaire and former Goldman Sachs trader named Jan Schramek, or I suppose it could be Jan, but probably Jan. At 36, Schramek has succeeded in charming fellow billionaires into this mysterious project. And for the longest time, no one could figure out who was buying up all the land in this county, this pastoral county in California. No one could figure out where it was going. And apparently, after deep investigation, they finally did discover that this is Silicon Valley billionaires buying it up to try and create their own town that they can both escape to and have control over. What he and his rich friends want is to transform the Bay Area's poorest county into a bustling, cultured, walkable metropolis running on green energy and self-driving cars. I don't have a problem with green energy, but with thousands of well-paid jobs. Yeah, throw the jobs in there. They could sell anything with jobs. They're like, we want to beat your son with a rubber hose for 7 hours, but we're going to give you well-paying jobs. Oh, okay, then yeah, beat away. At 36, Schramek has succeeded in charming fellow billionaires. I already read that. In retrospect, it is not surprising that aside from government entities, the only ones with the money and audacity to embark on such a project are elite billionaires. They have a slick new website called California Forever that claims it'll be giving good paying jobs. Perhaps we as a society are equally deluded in believing that billionaires are smart enough to deserve the preposterous wealth they've accumulated. Yeah, that's the other thing is there's a lot in our society of the idealizing, the romanticizing, the looking up to billionaires as if there are saviors. No, they're all fucking sociopaths. Every last one of them. You can't have $1 billion and not be a sociopath. You really can't. You've got to not care at all about the harm that is being done by one person having such insane wealth and other people struggling. 2/3 of America is living paycheck to paycheck with $1 trillion in credit card debt weighing down on them, not to mention student loan debt, not to mention fucking auto debt and mortgages, behind on their mortgages and everything else. 2/3 of America living paycheck to paycheck, and you have billionaires out there with more wealth than you could ever imagine. And so this is, this is the more evidence that we're in a class war. And of course, I've said before that the class war has been going on for years. It's just that the bottom 99% haven't really realized it. We've sat around thinking, that we should fight on this issue or this issue, but we haven't understand the umbrella fight that we're in there, which sounds kind of cute if you were fighting with umbrellas, but no, I mean the overarching fight that we're in which all of the money is slowly being extracted to the richest, so much so that we now literally, it's become vampiric. The U.S. is the number one exporter of paid blood, because in most countries it's illegal to pay people for blood, but in the U.S. it's not, and 94% of blood comes from the United States, blood and blood plasma, because poor people literally go in and give blood for $25 or $30, sometimes $75. But you can look up, I've covered this before, and the U.S. has become a vampiric state, literally sucking the blood of the poor. I like it how literal we've decided to make things, such as yesterday, I covered the literal. Someone told me it should be pronounced littoral combat ship. No, that, first of all, that ruins all of my jokes about it being a literal combat ship and being a ship and being a literal pile of shit. Ruins all my jokes. So it's got to be pronounced literal. But you, in your head, you can pronounce it littoral if you'd like. Anyway, we are in a class war. The wealth has been extracted to the top, and this is how unfettered capitalism always ends. I mean, it's really how the market economics always ends, although unfettered will go a little faster. There's more speed to that.